Ahead tonight, government planning to further improve Junkanoo Carnival. A man buying breakfast killed early this morning. And senators debate concessions for the city of Freeport. The Bahamas tonight. The National Report starts right now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
The Attorney General hits back at comments made by the opposition leader that's making national headlines today. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator the Honorable Alison Maynard Gibson, categorically rejecting Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minister's suggestion that she is in a position of a conflict of interest regarding her daughters having an interest in the Baha project. In a statement released late this afternoon, the Attorney General said the leader of the opposition is merely seeking to manufacture an issue where none exists. She said her single objective is facilitating the opening of Baha so that it may fulfill its promise and serve the interests of all Bahamians. She listed facts which are non-disputed, including that she has no interest or control in any company with ownership in Baha. Her husband, Maxwell Gibson, is the owner and CEO of the country's leading 100% Bahamian family-owned retail jewelry business. She indicated that about 2 years ago, Baha announced to much media coverage that her husband, Fred Hazelwood, and Wayne Chitao, owners of two other leading Bahamian family-owned retail businesses, had been granted leases for retail space in Baha. Another fact that Mrs. Gibson emphasized is that the government of the Bahamas played absolutely no role in this commercial transaction. She noted that pending the opening of the resort, her husband's company, along as so many other Bahamian businesses waiting on Baha's completion, is shouldering liability for the risks related to the delay. The Attorney General maintains these facts are easily available to Dr. Minnis. Mrs. Gibson's statement continued that nonetheless, as a warrant of her transparency, she reminded the Prime Minister of these facts prior to leading the government's delegation to Baha's negotiations in Beijing. The Attorney General is adamant that there is no conflict of interest, and Baha's opening will serve all Bahamian businesses hoping to work within or for the resort, including her husband's, which she makes no apologies for. The Attorney General's statement concluded that she prays that history will record that her driving purpose as Attorney General is to approach each day with humility and integrity, seeking justice, excellence, and the best interest for all Bahamians and all those living within our borders. Also tonight, in other news, while many have dubbed the first ever Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival held back in May a success, officials admit that it was not without its fair share of challenges. It's something they're looking to address. Tourism officials are already working feverishly to ensure that each year the festivities get better and that the experience is one that is authentically Bahamian. And as C.S. Gadley tells us tonight, the plan is to do it all on a significantly reduced budget.
Tourism officials are in the process of ironing out kinks that were experienced during Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival. Minister of Tourism Obi Wilshcombe believes the key to the three-day cultural showcase gaining a significant following will be the ability to provide patrons with a unique experience. He says the biggest concern for his ministry is to ensure that Bahamian culture isn't compromised. And to ensure that happens, the tourism minister says more local entertainers will have to be involved.
I think it's going to be successful. We saw the attraction, we saw what can happen with the right acts, and we see that people want to have a good time. Our country's been kind of dead, not enough events. We'd have more events during the course of the year to make sure that people are coming, not only for the sun, sand, and sea, but also to enjoy your culture, to have fun with your people, to involve themselves in shopping. And that is why we have to do more with our shopping as well. So we have a lot of things that we're still working on, but we feel very good we're on pace.
Once an authentic product is in place, Minister Wilshcombe believes it will be easier for his team to market. The goal is to also reduce Carnival's budget from $9 million to $6 million, something the tourism minister believes can be achieved through effective partnership.
We had 30 members of the media who came in from Europe for the event, and they're already talking about it now. So a lot of media will be seen not only in Europe, but the United States of America, Latin America, around the Caribbean. And of course, want to make sure we work with the airlines and work with the hotels, get good room rates and everything else. They're saying around 6 million. They want to reduce it by half at least, and they believe that they have it in place. It can happen, What can happen is it has to be done with major sponsorships. You can cause that to happen. That's not a difficulty, but you have to start now.
For tourists to believe that it's truly better in the Bahamas, the tourism minister remains adamant that there must always be something for them to do.
Have major events every quarter that will seek to draw large numbers of people, all centered around entertainment, culture, activities that people are going to come to. And we want to make sure that people are coming here for reasons. The sun fantasy is one thing, but because of the competition all around the world, don't forget you're talking about other countries and looking at what they have. And my argument has always been, I don't worry about them, you worry about me. But let me put in place the things that will draw people, will cause people to come and want to have a good time.
Siaska Adderley, ZNS Network News.
Now to crime news. A BTC employee was gunned down this morning in the Oaksfield area. And his friend Kerry tells us that the victim was at a breakfast stand on Horseshoe Drive when the incident occurred.
Police say the fatal shooting unfolded shortly after 8 Monday morning in front of Rusi's breakfast stand on Horseshoe Drive, Oaksfield. Officer in charge of homicide, Superintendent P.K. Bonamy Jr., said when officers arrived at the scene, they met a man lying on his back with a gunshot wound to the head.
Two males accosted him in a green SUV. This vehicle sped off after two men approached him and fired some shots at him. We don't know which direction the vehicle left in, but we want to appeal to members of the public if they had seen a green SUV leaving the scene to please contact us at CDU to help us advance this investigation.
Superintendent Barnaby stopped short of releasing the victim's identity. However, he noted that the deceased was not wearing an ankle monitoring bracelet and was not known to police. President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, Bernard Evans, was also at the scene. He identified the victim as Jamal Hyla, a 10-year employee at BTC who worked in the company's fleet management department, Propel Track.
This is a place that I met Jamal. He come here every day, every morning for breakfast, Order the same thing every time, mackerel and rice. Always wanted his pepper cut up on the top and all that stuff. But it's a hard-working young man. Very, very serious. He came on the job, excelled pretty fast. His mom, obviously, she worked for BTC as well. And it was very, very sad morning. This is just senseless. And I think this country needs a wake-up call. I mean, at some point, a truce got to be called.
Now, this incident has affected the entire BTC family, and efforts will be made to give the entire staff grief counseling today.
This is tragic, as you know. There are two persons involved with this, Jamal being an employee and also his mom. Very, very likable person, Brenda. And so the whole BTC family is pretty much distraught this morning. And I'm sure that HR will do an honorable thing and bring in counsel and all that to talk with them. But it is very devastating this morning.
Community activist Candy Gibson called on all stakeholders in the community to work together to stop the bloodshed.
It should be a sad day for all of us because all of us have loved ones. And today a young man, to my knowledge, was getting breakfast. Suppose he had his children here today while he getting breakfast. How much murders that could have been today? Suppose innocent persons were here today and could have gotten a stray bullet. Come on now, I'm sad. This is murder count number 92. We're ready in the month of August. Enough is enough now. The play game, the point finger game, the blame game, all that has to stop now.
Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
In news from Parliament, with the exemption on certain concessions under the Hawkesbill Creek Agreement that expired August 4th, senators today debated a bill to extend those concessions for the next 6 months. Leader of Government Business in the Senate and Attorney General Senator the Honorable Alison Maynard Gibson noted that more time is needed to consider the recommendations given by stakeholders for the nation's second sitting. This was echoed by PLP Senator the Honorable Julian Russell, who noted that if the concessions remain after 6 months, principals of the Grand Bahama Port Authority must be held accountable.
This government is the same government that when it was necessary to negotiate the concessions that would be granted under Phase 3 of the Atlantis development, Madam President, engaged an expert to come in and advise the government about whether any concessions at all ought to be granted in Phase 3 of that development. and the concessions were negotiated down from 20+%, almost 30% for phase 2. The request for phase 3 was also 20-some%. I don't remember the exact sum right now, but I could get it. It was negotiated down, Madam President, to the teens. As I recall, it was 12%.
Meanwhile, Free National Movement Senator the Honorable Kwesi Thompson agreed with the extension, but noted no extension would have been needed if the government addressed the issue in a timely manner or if the Ministry of Grand Bahama did what it was mandated to do. He charged that now Grand Bahamians have to live through another 6 months with no real vision for the island. For the most part, he said many are already accepting many of the concessions.
Most people believe the exemptions to the real property tax in Freeport should be extended. Most people are also not opposed for the government extending the regulatory powers for business licenses. However, this is also a chance for the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the government to provide the people and the island with much needed changes that will bring real benefit to Freeport and to the people of Freeport, which to date has been lacking.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Platinum Bride Couture, downtown Nassau on Parliament Street. Begin your happily ever after at Platinum Bride Couture.